It is the summer of 2007. Charles's best friend Wyatt, along with his girlfriend, suggests that Charles get a date and the four of them go to visit some natural hot springs located deep in a nearby canyon not too far from where they live in Utah. Supposedly, these hot springs are excellent, super quick and easy to get to, just a short hike from where you would park your car off the main road running through the canyon. It's around 7 o'clock that evening when they park their truck in Spanish Fork Canyon and set off on the trail that leads to the hot springs. They are armed with only their swimming suits and towels. Now, Charles doesn't know where Wyatt gets his lousy information because it isn't a quick and easy hike. It's more like a challenging hike that takes over an hour on a very narrow path where they have to walk single file the entire time. Occasionally, they encounter really rough spots where one bad step could send them cascading down the mountain. It seems like they're never going to get there. After not being adequately prepared and wearing themselves out to get there, they finally make it. The sun is already setting when they finally reach the clearing where somebody has dug up the natural pools. It's later than expected, but they figure it would be so fun to just soak in the hot water underneath the stars. They are so deep in the canyon that the stars in the sky are brighter than at any other time Charles has ever seen them in his life. No light pollution at all. They have the entire area to themselves, and they are just having a great time telling jokes and making each other laugh. The only light is from the stars, and the only sound is theirs. The quiet around them is almost eerie. Now, they've been there for about a half an hour when they start hearing twigs snapping in like every direction. There's only one way in and out of the hot springs through that super narrow trail that they hiked in on. But that's where they're hearing the loudest noises from. Immediately, everyone's eyes are on that trail. As the noises continue to get a little louder and a little louder, they soon can make out the outline of some figure in the dark. Someone with a flashlight is coming down the trailhead to the pools that they are swimming in. Charles had been in a great mood up until this point, but this person's arrival surprises all of them. Once Charles is sure that whoever this is close enough to hear them, he yells out to them to try to break the ice.
Hey, you here to join the party?
Not only does he not want it to be awkward, but it's also kind of his defense against the rock of nervousness that had suddenly formed in his stomach. Silence. The person keeps walking toward them and doesn't say a word. Immediately, alarm bells are going off in Charles's head. His gut is telling him that something isn't right. He tries to ignore how he's feeling and jokes to the group about this person being a weirdo for not answering. But now everyone is on edge. As this person gets closer, they start to make out more details. Looks to be an average guy of above average size, dressed head to toe in black. This guy is wearing a hoodie and long pants in the middle of summer in Utah. Who does that? They notice he's also wearing a black backpack. He reaches the clearing, turns off his flashlight, and continues walking towards them. Now, there are a half a dozen hot springs scattered around the clearing, and there is no one else around except them. This guy could choose any of them to swim in, but no. He walks directly towards theirs and sits down about 6 feet away from the edge of the spring. Wyatt has a lantern. He hops up to the side of the pool, grabs it, turns it on. For a split second, they see the guy rifling through his bag looking for something. One of the girls says something to him. Once again, they get no response. Wyatt then turns off the lantern, and Charles assumes it's because he's low on battery and doesn't want to wear it out. Once the light is out, they can all hear the stranger unzip his backpack again and start frantically digging through it. Wyatt immediately turns the lantern back on. The stranger quickly stops, zips the bag back up, and acts as if nothing's happening. Wyatt notices the stranger appears to be Hispanic, so he greets him in Spanish, which catches the stranger off guard, and he mumbles a response. Wyatt asks how he's doing, what's he up to tonight? Did he come for a swim? At least that's what Charles assumes from his tone. Charles doesn't speak Spanish very well, so he doesn't know exactly what the stranger's responses are, but they are very brief and not very friendly sounding. After asking the guy a few more questions, Wyatt turns to Charles and their dates in the pool and says very quietly, but deadly seriously, "We need to go right now." Immediately, they begin getting out of the pool and drying off with their towels. The stranger asks Wyatt a question in Spanish, something like, "Oh, where are you guys going so quickly?" While Charles can see that Wyatt is playing it off very calmly, like it's no big deal, he knows Wyatt definitely feels differently. Wyatt turns to the group again and says, "We're getting our things together and putting on our shoes. Grab your stuff. We're going now." No one asks any questions. They grab their things and start practically running towards the trailhead as a group. As they look back, they see the stranger in black is getting his things together, getting up, and starting to follow them. At this point, there is no illusion about what is happening. This guy has bad intentions and is chasing after them on the narrow trail all the way back to their car. They know they have an hour or more ahead of them until they're back to the safety of their car, and they don't have anything to defend themselves with at all. They are still soaking wet, but they've managed to get a head start on him. Charles takes the lantern and takes the lead and leads the group. They get into a single file line and lock hands with each other, knowing that they'll need it to keep moving as fast as they possibly can, but not too quickly or they could just fall to their deaths. The girls are behind Charles, with Wyatt bringing up the rear, giving them updates on where the stranger in black is and telling them to move faster. He picks up the biggest, sharpest rock he can find and prepares to defend them, even kill this guy if he has to. Everyone's emotions are running high. The girls are sobbing, trying to keep pace with Charles up front, and he's yelling back, "Watch out for this, watch out for that," and they're making their way through the darkness as fast as they can. Charles is telling himself to stay calm so he doesn't scare the girls any more than they already are. Yet he's also feeling an overwhelming sense of dread that he doesn't know how to handle. He doesn't want to die. He's only 19 years old. After what feels like an eternity, they finally see the main canyon road and their truck, and they all break out in a run. As Wyatt unlocks it, they all get inside and find themselves in a complete state of shock. They're all just shaking uncontrollably. Charles tells Wyatt to start the car and start driving so they can get out of there and never come back. Once they're a few miles down the road, and after a few minutes of deep breathing and calming down, Charles asks Wyatt, "Why did you tell us we had to get out of there so fast?" Wyatt answers that he had purposefully been turning the lantern on and off because he noticed that when he did, the stranger was searching in his bag for something. When the light came back on, the stranger closed it up and stopped. That is when he tried speaking in Spanish, trying to get a feel for what was going on with this guy. Wyatt says that he was asking the stranger questions in Spanish like, "Where are your friends?" The stranger answered, "No friends," and gave other short answers to basic questions, which gave Wyatt the absolute creeps. Once the stranger asked Wyatt something about the girls, that is when Wyatt declared, "It's time to go." Wyatt was able to see the stranger following them almost the entire time, but he eventually drops off toward the end when he can't keep pace with them. So, what is this strange guy doing in the middle of the dark canyon by himself, dressed in all black? And what does he have in his bag that he's trying to get to that he doesn't want them all to see? And what would have happened to them if he'd caught up to their group on the trail that night? Charles is glad they didn't have to find out.